assault me. I'm the man who took advantage of the hole in the traffic. It just was adults acting like they were 16 in weather that was unforgiving and would take advantage of any error of judgment that they made. And innocent people were going to suffer for it because nobody was going to get home after those three guys racked up the afternoon freeway. The 101 was going to be stuck, and nobody was going anywhere. The weather formation would have gone through, and another one would be here before we had gotten home. And I just not laugh to myself, but curse the idiocy of someone who drives in LA traffic every day and can't get the hang of being cool about it. Here's three people showing that what were they showing? They were showing their inexperience. They were showing their
The disregard for other people.
and lack of judgment. Yeah.
Yeah, the disregard. I mean, I think when somebody drives like that, and listen, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I've never been that guy, because I've been that guy. You know, when I was younger, I mean, I've certainly mellowed out in my driving, but when I was a kid, I was an asshole driver. You know, I knew, and the sad thing is I knew how to do it.
Yeah.
And there's something that when you know how to do it, you know, you do things.
Right.
You say to yourself, well, I know what the hell I'm doing here, so I can go, boom, 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 you know, or I can go up a shoulder. I know what I'm doing. Or I go up this way. I know how to stay this. I know how to, you know, and never got into an accident like that. Never had a problem because I knew what I was doing. But what you learn about that is that the other person doesn't know what they're doing.
No, they don't.
And the next thing you know,
you're dancing.
A bit of a problem.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, Michael.
If 30% of Americans currently operating vehicles think that Donald Trump has been sent to us by God, by a deity who loves us so much that this is the savior he sent to our planet. If that's what they believe, God knows what they believe that their Porsche is capable of in a tropical storm.
Do they believe it's the best he could do?
We're going to get through this. This thing was made in Stuttgart. Follow me.
This is the best he could do. Oh my God. You know, I mean, you know, my friend George just chimed in, and he's so right. We learned about this by driving tow trucks. You know, I mean, you drive tow trucks in the city of New York, and you learn all of the different things you need to learn about how to get through traffic, how to do it somewhat safely, how to go around, how to go through an alley, how to squeeze between two cars.
Why you go left when you really have to go right? We got to go left so we can go right later. We're going later. Don't worry.
I'm going left now so I can come across to that intersection and then go this way. If I get over there, all the other cars that want to go that way. And you know, in New York, you never had the right turn on red.
Well, you got to wait, huh?
It's still illegal to make a right turn on red except at certain intersections, which are clearly marked. So you had to sit there. So you had to figure out a way to get around that. And the best way to get around that was to go to the left and then go wide right, or go to the right and then go wide left on a one-way street.
You know, most states in the union make it illegal to turn right on red. California is an exception, and that's why a lot of people are accustomed to it. But it's not the rule in terms of the majority. Most people don't allow the right turn on red.
No, I think most states do allow the right turn on red now, Michael.
Do they really? Well, that's a breakthrough. I stand corrected.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that. You know,
I wish I was wrong about the Giants. Did the Giants really lose yesterday? Or was I wrong about that too?
I think you might have been right about that. I think pretty much there are very few states. I think that, as a matter of fact, I think rights on reds are legal in all states except in some metropolitan areas.
I hope that's the case.
Yeah, you know, like in a congested area or something like that. That might be like New York City. You can't make a right on a red. Philadelphia, you can't make a right on a red. Um, I don't think you can. They may have changed that. I don't think you can make a right on a red in D.C.
I'm trying to think about Miami, but I seem to recall coming up to an intersection and making a right on the red, and the guy with me said, "What the hell are you doing?
Yeah, I think
Making a
you
right,
can
making a
make a
right
right
on the
on a
red."
red in Miami, and I know all the other streets like Dallas and here you can. And a matter of fact, some cities have the interesting thing called the Pittsburgh left turn,
The Pittsburgh left turn. Explain.
where you can actually pull up to a street, and if it's a red light and there's no car coming from the left and no car coming from the right, that you can just go ahead and make the turn.
Can I make the turn if they're burning Roberto Clemente's book in the intersection, or should I wait out of
You
respect for
should run the
the?
friggers over.
I'd be happy to with a pie truck.
Oh, lordy, lordy, lordy,
What do
lordy.
you got for your show tomorrow, Vinny? This is a Freaky Friday, so your salubrious Saturday is about to start.
Yes, drive time tomorrow morning. Well, we have something new, Mikey. I was just out filming it yesterday, called Just Off the Exit.
Just off the boat.
Just off the exit. And what I've done is I've gone out to different places along I-5 and along I-90 that have something interesting. You've passed it a million times. It's
Oh, I
on
like that.
the frontage road. And I figured we would feature each week or maybe every other week, depending. It's like a recurring series, doesn't have to be every week. Um, a a little story about what that is, why you should stop there, or maybe why
Remember,
you shouldn't stop
remember
there.
our pal Tom Robbins wrote a book about that called Another Roadside Attraction.
You know what? I've never read that book. I'll have to see if I can get a copy.
No, you can
Uh,
get one.
Matter of
That's going
fact,
to be available.
it'd be nice if Tom Robbins would like to come with me on one or two of these things. Is he
He's
still
like,
up here?
oh yeah, he's in LaConner.
Oh, you know what? It's funny. The first one I did was on the road to LaConner. It was right. You know, you one of these days I'd like to meet him. I don't think I've ever met him, and I'd certainly like to meet him.
Well,
Um,
I can tell you that he's a remarkable sports fan, very astute, was loyal to the Sonics, but his friend was an executive with the Sonics. I won't get into names.
yeah,
And the more Tom knew about the inner workings of the NBA, the less he loved it.
yeah. Well, that's
And
you never want to know what the how they
you know,
make this.
you don't want to know exactly what I was thinking. Sausage with your eggs? Just don't call it sausage. I'll have some, but I don't want to know any more about it.
So we'll have that. We have we have a Yo Vinny, what are you driving this week with Nathan? We have um, which is the Kia Niro. That's the only car that
Uh-huh.
fiddles while cars around it burn. Um, and what else do we have? What's our review tomorrow? I got to think back. I think it's the Lexus LS 350, which is a very fine entry level luxury vehicle. Um,
Family
we've
car.
got, huh?
Family car.
Yeah, family entry level luxury. So if you want to move up from from just a Camry, it's basically a Camry with a lot nicer paint job and nicer fascia and stuff like that. But a slick little car and not that expensive. I mean, you can buy one probably in the low 50s. We'll also talk about the average price of an American automobile transaction in 2023.
Well, is it north of 40?
If you want to go into a dealership and you want to buy a car, the average price of all automotive transactions in the United States of America as of last week is over $50,000. $4,000.
Something's wrong there.
People are
Wow.
buying. The average car payment in the United States of America
$400.
is over $1,000 a month.
Wow. Just to get from point A to point B.
The average used car payment is in the 600s.
They want their money back right away, don't they?
Well, the pandemic taught the automakers in a very, very simple lesson that people were willing to pay more for cars.
A convenience in the pandemic is not easy to come by. Things aren't going to be convenient. They're just going to be more expensive.
Right. The automakers found that people will pay more money for that car. They were paying dealers $2,000, $3,000, $5,000, $6,000, $10,000 over sticker price.
Well, they got used to that in a hurry, didn't they?
For cars. And the auto manufacturer said, well, why should we let the dealers make all the money?
Stop making those cars.
So they started
Slow down.
MSRPs. And on top of that, they're not producing the numbers of family econo boxes, the Toyota Corollas. Toyota would rather make Camrys and 4Runners and Tacomas and pickup trucks and SUVs, because they're much more profitable than to make Tacomas, Corollas. So you go to buy a Corolla.
But I want a Corolla. Well, we got a Tacoma for you. We got a let's go upscale. I'll tell you what we do have.
Or a RAV4.
Yeah.
Or a Highlander. And so to go and buy that $22,000 4-passenger Econo car that you wanted to buy for your kid to go to school in, to send her, because you wanted to send her off to school in a new car, that car now costs you, that $20,000 Toyota now costs you north of $35,000. By the
if
time
you can get one.
By the
and
time
you can't have the color you want, and it won't have the chips in it because the Chinese are mad at us about Taiwan.
Or you can order it.
Yeah.
Or you can order it. You can, sit there, and that's really what they want to do, is they want to move the whole system into, there's just such a big upheaval going on. So we'll talk about that tomorrow. Jill Simonello from Pickup Truck Weekly is going to join us. She's going to let us know what's happening on a smaller pickup truck. Everybody seems to have a small pickup truck coming out to fight the Ford Maverick, which is supposed to be a $20,000 pickup truck, but I don't think they've sold one at $20,000 yet. Most of them are in the high 30s to 40s. And it looks like Chrysler is on the way or Stellantis is on the way with their electric pickup.
Of course.
But again, these cars, where are the electric cars for the masses?
Didn't Ford post a lot of losses this year?
Well, yeah, that's another interesting thing, because they lost a ton of money in their electric space, but they made a huge ton of money on their trucks and their ICE cars. But what they're doing, as most manufacturers are going to, is the electric cars are not going to have anything to do with the internal combustion cars. They're going to be separate companies. Whoa. Ford has already set up separate companies. And so if you want to buy an ICE car, you'll go to a Ford dealer. Order it up, or it'll be on the lot. If you want to buy an electric car, you'll go to your computer.
Yeah. Build it right there. You go to the custom shop and build your car, and they'll tell you when it's ready.
and they'll tell you when it's ready, just like Tesla. You'll come down. Everybody loves the Tesla model right now. Everybody loves the idea that you order your car, you wait whatever weeks, the car comes, you go to the dealership, and you pick up your car.
There are a lot of Teslas in LA, a lot of them. And I find them to be the most aggressive and unpredictable drivers out there. When I see Teslas on the freeway, I have to pay special attention to their ability to act irrationally with no notice.
I never, ever, ever thought that I would find a group of people who were bigger sticky fritos than Porsche owners.
But
And now I will put my arm around a Porsche owner any day of the week over a Tesla owner.
and feel sorry for them because they know their mechanic by their first name and their nickname. They see a lot of them.
Yeah. So it's an interesting time, Michael. We're at a very interesting time in automotive. We try to cover it in an hour as much as we can. We hardly ever are able to squeeze everything into 1 hour, but there
Well,
is
don't miss your cartoon. What's your cartoon this week?
What is my cartoon this week? I actually wrote it down somewhere because I heard it. And
Crawling from the Wreckage by Dave Edmonds.
no, I think it's the House Martins.
Oh, I like them.
And the light is always green.
Okay.
I think that's the one I was looking at. I had to review the lyrics just to make sure
It was about a car.
that it was about a car, but
Yeah.
because with the House Martins,
Yeah.
you could they could be talking about something completely different.
They named themselves after a little bird, so let's be honest. We don't know what to expect from them in all situations.
You never quite know exactly what's coming out of the mouth of the House Martins, but I think that'll be our cartoon tomorrow morning. We'll have Nathan. We'll have a lot of fun. So tell your friends to listen. We will be on all our regular outlets at 8:00 tomorrow morning. We will also be on. I think we're going to try to stream on Twitter tomorrow. I don't know if that's going to work or not, but I think we're going to test that tomorrow and see if we can stream on Twitter. And of course, we'll be on 1150 KKNW over the air in Seattle. Please tell your friends. And it's going good. The show is really, I took some time off, as you know, and I've come back with a refreshed and interesting perspective on the show. So it's
entertainment, information, and energy, Vinny. That's all you got to do. And that sounds simple because all the great recipes are simple.
It's funny. It sounds simple, but in theory, the older you get,
oh, that.
The more
that's what you mean.
Deliver that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm lucky that I got a motor that goes pretty fast. I couldn't imagine doing this if I had a slow motor, man.
Slow motors, that's not what we need. At least not in LA, and I don't think you need
people. We're not slow motor people, man. We're people who like to entertain. We like to talk to people. We like people to talk to us.
When I see
we'll work on that in the next couple of weeks too. What do you think, Mikey?
Let's get a job.
What?
I say, let's get a job.
Well, I got to ask you, and I'll ask it on the air. Why not? What do you think? There's two things that I want to do within the next week or two. I want to start taking phone calls.
Fine with me.
I figured a way out to take phone calls, and I think we can do it. And so I want to do that. And at the very least, I want to start running in some guests, even if we have to go an extra half hour.
Okay.
I think it would be fun to see if we can book a few guests. I mean, old friends of ours, just people we know. Um,
Well,
Interesting people that we can hunt
you
down.
you mentioned Tom Robbins. We'll see if he wants to do it.
Yeah, I would love
Uh,
to do it.
I remember we promised Dan Rayleigh a shot because we traded salutations, and his coverage of the Huskies is something that I think our audience would appreciate because he's up to here in Husky lore. He knows his stuff, and
Right,
especially with all
right.
the new changes and commitments and the fast moving world that college football has become, because kids go to the portal and you may not know who's on your team next week. But that I find to be fascinating more than an annoyance.
Right, and I think that we should. I think we should start to pursue. I mean, I know, I can get Rick Riz to join us from the
That'd be great.
Mariners.
That'd be great.
He would be on my list. Um,
And we talk about this idea of you don't more than one team is not sending their broadcast crew on the road. They do the broadcast from home, I guess, watching a television. I want to ask Rick Riz what he thinks of that particularly awful idea. These are decisions that if applied to television, they'd say, why do we need cameras? Because it's a visual medium. Are you absolutely certain? Can't we do this without cameras? You
yeah,
you can try, but what are you going to do? Show slides? Going to have a
yeah,
picture of a cat while we do the news in audio only?
yeah. I think there's a bunch of people I'd like to talk to, like us to converse with, like the old days, and maybe that's what we'll do on a Wednesday. That'll be our Wednesday thing. Is we'll have a guest every Wednesday and try to. Oh, and you know who else wants to come on with us?
Name it. Who? Janet Magleby.
Fabulous sports babe.
I would love to have the sports babe on.
We gotta get Nancy on.
How's she doing, by the way?
Last I heard, she's doing okay. I'm going to send her a message right after the show and see when she wants to come on with us. As a matter of fact, you know what I think would be a kind of a cool idea? I don't know if everybody would do it, but wouldn't it be nice if one morning we took a 2 hour show? We did a 2 hour show and we had me, you, Gas, Graz, um, Kevin Wall. Why not?
Got to have Softy. Softy's been an institution in that town. And Softy wasn't on the air when I first got to KJR.
Kelsey was my intern.
He was dying to be on the air, and he earned his position, and he's made the most of it.
Yeah.
But he was not an institution when I first got to town. He was a kid that we relied on, but he became a man who knows how to do a show now, and that's good to see that kind of growth, and also that the fact that he's still there speaks to his hard work.
Yeah, who are we missing? We're missing somebody.
We can have Mitch if you want.
Yeah, I got no problem having Mitch.
I got no problem.
It would be nice. It would be really nice to do a KJR reunion. It would be really nice to use this platform.
That would turn into like a network special, because God knows when you get all those talkers in one place.
Well, you know, it's funny, Mikey. If we could do it right, we used to do a thing up at Cairo called the Battle of the Talk Show Hosts. And what we would do is we would rent out a theater, a small venue, maybe a few thousand seats.
Right, like a club.
Like a club, and set up a stage. And I think we gave the tickets away for free, but in our case, we could probably charge $10 a pop for tickets. And we would all get on the stage when we had a moderator. A couple of years I moderated. A couple of years the late great Jane Shannon moderated.
Mm-hmm.
And so we could get somebody to be the moderator, and we could put out our, it was a very simple format. People put their, moderate. We all made statements. They gave us a couple of topics to talk about. And you know what? It was a really fun show. It was a chance for people who used to listen to us or listen to us to interact with us. But more importantly, it was a chance to take people behind the scenes of a great period in radio. Now, that was more. But if you could, if you could add into that a Gary Payton,
Oh yeah.
if you could add into that a Jay Buhner, if you could add into that another person who was a frequent guest on our shows from the sports world, two or three of them, I think you could probably do something.
Well, I'm for it. I'm for the idea of guests. The idea of bringing back all the guys from KJR is wonderful. To have them all in one place at one time sounds fabulous, but it might be better to devote the great years of KJR by bringing them back one at a time, because bringing them in a group it'd be like freeform wrestling with too much oil. You guys put oil on your bodies before you wrestle? Yeah, we always do. Doesn't that make it harder to wrestle? Yep.
Yes, that's the point. Well, that's something we can think about, Mikey. That's something that I would before I shuffle off this mortal coil. I would like to. I'd like to do something like that. I'd like to have one more. I'd like to have one more week of glory for KJR. It really got me thinking. I think that it really sucked that nobody from KJR contacted either one of us about our 30 years.
Oh, they don't remember that. Do you think?
Yeah, they remember it, Mikey. There's people that are there that remember it. There's, Rich Moore is there. Chris Levitt is still there. There are people there that remember us.
I don't think, with the exception of Rick Scott, that the programmers understood us. With all the program with Mike, with the guys from Cube that were part of the management, with the people from the Sonics, with the double layers of program directors and consultants that we had so many people with irons in the fire. They never, ever sat down and talked to us about strategy, about formatting, about construction of the show, about lineups, about booking guests. Never, ever did we ever have one meeting where you put together a plan for the future and or introduce something new to the morning show.
You know why, Mikey?
Because they had no ideas.
No, not because they had no ideas, Mikey. Don't you know why that was? Because there wasn't anybody from the program director on down that could have done it better. There was nobody in that building that could have come to us and said,
"Follow me, boys.
This is really what you should be doing." Because what we were doing, especially you and I, what we had, you can't legislate that.
You can't manufacture it.
You can't manufacture that. You can't create that. You can't put two people in a room that don't know each other. Well, no, I'm not going to take that back. You couldn't take us two people in a room and tell us anything that we really didn't know. Now, maybe you could make the clock run a little bit better, but the beauty of us is that we were us.
Yeah.
They weren't buying anybody like us. And you think about sports radio before we came along, and there were no morning shows.
It was the worst part of the day.
It started at 12 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yep.
That's when sports radio started. Maybe they had a news program on or something like that. But at 12 o'clock in the afternoon, 11 o'clock in the morning, maybe 10 o'clock,
Bruce Williams.
Sports radio started. Bruce Williams.
Hi, I'm your friend. Bruce, I've maxed out my credit card. I don't know what to do. Well, here we go. This is just what I'm in business for.
How many times did people tell us that they couldn't believe that we were doing a morning show, that the afternoon drive show was the morning show for sports?
Well, it was in New York. If you want to take the WFAN model and see why it was so successful, they had bang stars in the afternoon. and in the middays would. But the morning show was like the all night show. What can you do? It's too early to get guests. It's too early to have anything but the scores from the night
Well,
before.
we had an
Roll.
advantage.
We didn't know that.
We had an advantage. We were on 3 hours behind
Yep.
New York City. So people were having lunch when when we were trying to book guests. We weren't trying to book guests at 7 o'clock in the morning. Back east, we were booking guests at 11 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
And so while somebody is sitting around waiting to go to lunch or a meeting or a lawyer or this or that, they pick up the phone and they spend a couple of minutes with us.
And the odd thing is, a lot of morning shows don't remember the old adage from rock and roll days: is have bits, have regular pieces, have serials that come back. All My Seahawks,
Benchmarks.
banging the boards, interviews with the psychic predictions for the week, all the tried and true elements of shtick that you use in radio for people to. It's comforting driving to work and hearing a feature that comes up that you're looking forward to. Well, what
Yeah.
is it? It doesn't matter what it is. It's a feature that you prepare that's someplace to hang your hat. 8:45. That's what happens then. The world doesn't come to an end if the 8:45 feature runs on time.
Well, it's funny because my friend Matthew Mankiewicz is texting me on our line, and he is right. I mean, Imus in the morning carried the fan for a long, long time, and Imus, of course, was a holdover from WNBC, and
A holdover from WGAR, a holdover from KSTN, a holdover from a lot of stations where he
but
perfected
Imus
his.
was the guy
Yep.
who, before he really got political, I mean, he turned political at one point, but when I was a kid and I was listening to Imus, and that was before WFAN, he was not really political. He was funny.
He was still
some
judgmental.
bits.
One thing about Imus is he had a list of weasels.
Yeah.
If you were a weasel, you were not in a good position with Imus. You were going to make the weasel report over and over again, and in reference, you were going to be called a weasel many times again. And he got that from his top 40 days of pick an enemy, give him a silly name, hammer him, and show no mercy.
Yeah. And that's what we did when we were doing the morning show. That's what we did. And it worked because, number one, we were friends. But number one, we weren't so good friends that we didn't disagree with each other.
In fact, we disagreed more then than we do now. So with time, we just can't find much to disagree on. Although there's this senator from Arizona named Kristen Sinema. Maybe you've heard of her.
I have.
Vinny's got ideas. Okay, that's all I'm going to say.
Well, you know me and those politicians.
Until he gets past this terrible juncture in his life, he ain't going to be happy. It's Kristen Sinema or nothing. But he's picked the wrong girl. She's not going to make you happy, Vinny.
I'm not going to be happy until I wind up marrying a politician. It's just, I came close. She was a wonderful woman. I don't know. It didn't get to where it needed to be, but it was a great ride while it lasted.
Well, did she wear her Holstein costume? Because that would have helped with Kristen Sinema. I think that's what put you over the edge.
No.
You haven't been the same since she started dressing.
Very, very, very classy woman. She did not wear her Holstein costume. She was a wonderful, kind woman that I really, really loved. And but boy, oh boy, was she a shark, man. She was a freaking shark. She knew how to play politics.
Did she sell Mercedes to Anthony Soprano? Did she sell him a Mercedes?
She wasn't that type. She knew where she had a great, I'll tell you about it. I'm not going to say her name, but I'm sure many people that listen to us know who she is. She had one of the best mentors that you could possibly have in government. And that mentor showed her the ropes. And she was smart enough to listen and to learn. and to say this is how it's done.
See, that's the difference between her and Kristen Sinema. Senator Sinema will not listen and will not learn. And
Right.
she'll wear that Holstein costume again sometime and embarrass us all.
And this person, this woman, knew how to force a compromise. It was all about compromises. And she knew how, she taught me, and I don't know if the lesson applies anymore, but in the 90s it did. Which was politics, don't take it personal.
It's not personal, it's business.
That's when your trouble starts, when you start to take things personally.
Do you think Donald Trump takes things personally, or how do you?
I think nobody listened to her because she was 100% right. She was 100% right.
It's funny how in American affairs, people don't listen to the truth, and they just get their knickers in a twist over something that is untrue. And that's a partial example of the explanation of what's wrong with our nation at this time. We're in love with the untrue. We're fascinated and loyal to something that doesn't actually exist, and we're committed to it in a way, an emotional way that's embarrassing to watch, because it's so frustrating to hear a Trump supporter basically say "my way or the highway."
Well, we've lost our ability to compromise with people. We've lost our ability to look at somebody else and say, you could be right. Or maybe you're half right. Or maybe you have some good ideas there. And I have some good ideas. And maybe if we put them together, we can come up with a good idea. Could you imagine trying to build Safeco Field in this political environment?
Well, you can't build consensus, so that means you can't build Safeco Field.
People never realize the amount of people who had to get off of their crap on both sides to be able to come to an agreement to build that ballpark.
One of the sayings that we're hearing more and more again is if you don't want to lead on this, if we can't count on your vote, if you won't be part of the solution to gun violence, street violence, COVID, Chinese influence in America on TikTok, if you can't be part of the solution of these complicated events that await us all, then the advice that we're getting is get out of the way.
Well, yeah, get out of the way.
If all you have is your no vote, that's not enough. That's not going to get us through. We need someone who's going to be part of the solution and part of the compromise solution that awaits us all. I can't tell you exactly what it's going to be until we compromise and fashion it. But I can tell you that if all you've got is your no vote and your Jim Jordan, that's not enough. That's not politics. That's not the future. That's not progress, and that's not going to get it done. You are sponsoring a non-answer to the problem that won't go away until you answer it.
We're spending hours and hours and hours and hours trying to get the other guy, and we're spending zero time legislating things in this country that need to be legislated, addressing problems in this country that need to be addressed.
And remember, the budgets for all of our actions are coming into review, and there's no discussions of it. There's no compromise in the wind. And I'll be damned if I don't see it like I didn't see it. 2 months ago, I would have said, they'll get it done. They always do. Now I'll bet you that they'll shut down the government just to make a point. Just their own incompetence and their inability to get something done before the calendar gets in their way will call for a shutdown of the government. And the non-issuance of Social Security checks and the crippling of the economy, all because the one weapon that they use as a cudgel over and over again is inaction, anger, fascism, unrest, chaos. These are things they can promote. It's like second nature to them. And by them, I'm talking about the grand old party. But when it comes to actually getting the job done, the hard work of governance, that's something that they are not trained for, that they're not interested in, that they're not elected for. They're there merely as a distraction. They are the famous whistle on the plow. It doesn't work, but the plow was been fine without a whistle, but not if you're not using it. No, we're not plowing the earth. We're not planting the fields. We're not coming up with the harvest. We're just standing around the plow discussing it in ways that prevent us from actually using it. And that's why we need a whistle on the plow to get people out of the way. One side. Where are you going? We're not going anywhere. Get out of the way.
We're going somewhere. We just don't know where we're going. But the tracks only go that way. Don't worry about that.
Don't worry about it. We'll get new tracks.
We don't need tracks.
Well, we had a long show today for a Freaky Friday.
Yes, we did. Well, I didn't tell you this, but I forgot to turn I forgot to hit the get online button.
So
we only got the last 40 minutes of our show. I think it tapes it, so I think I can go back and put it all on.
Okay.
And I'll have to see if I can do that when we say goodbye.
Goodbye.
I wanted to make sure we had at least 41 minutes of a show or 45 minutes of a show to put up there. And actually, the last 45 minutes of the show.
Well, the first 40,
first
40 was reasonably entertaining, as I can assure you. The Giants lost, the Mets won. That's the short version. Smokey Burgess did not play at second base. That's another part of the big results from yesterday.
Yeah,
Donald Trump's in some hot water.
Did we have that rule? Did anybody have to use that rule?
I don't recall any game that I saw the highlights of going extra innings yesterday. Yeah, Smokey was ready. By ready, I mean he was asleep in the clubhouse.
He was in the clubhouse. They had him in the old sleeveless uniform.
And they had a nice lunch plate put out for him. It was
soft foods.
It was soft. There wasn't a lot of chewing. There was no
he doesn't get steak anymore. He gets
nothing that would break a tooth.
He gets he gets soft foods, Smokey. We don't want to injure. The last thing we want to do is we don't want to injure Smokey.
Start with a giant flour tortilla and put everything you got in it, and you're good to go.
We're good. Or some, there's nothing ever wrong with Jell-O.
Or cereal.
I've had many a Jell-O and cereal lunches. Because you know why, Michael?
You were in custody?
When you're broke, they're the last two things that are usually in your cabinet.
I can make a pot of rice. Anyone interested in rice for dinner?
Yeah, I got rice, I got Jell-O, and I got, what do I got down here?
I got soy sauce for the rice.
Soy sauce for the rice. We're in.
We're in. We're done. Eating like kings, that's all. Eating like a king, I'm telling you.
Yeah, big bowl of rice. All right, man, I will catch up with you. Don't forget, everybody, tomorrow at 8 a.m., Drive Time Radio with yours truly. We will, as we said before, have a packed show for you. Lots of people to talk to, including our good friend Jill Simonillo from Pickup Truck Magazine and Pickup Truck and SUV Magazine. She'll give us the latest on what's going on with all of the little pickup trucks, the electric pickup trucks, and how much weight you have to gain to pick up a pickup truck. She'll.
I wonder if she's driven the camouflaged Lamborghini SUV.
Well, we'll have to ask her. I don't know if she drives a lot of stuff. She drives much more than I do. So we will talk to her. We will have our regular features for you. And of course, Nathan will be there as well. So please listen tomorrow morning at 8, right here on this beautiful internet setup. Or if you're local here, 1150 KKNW, as we put it out over the air all over the state of Washington. And believe you me, there is some things we'd like to cover the state of Washington with.
Yes, that's all I'm going to say. I've made enough of a fool of myself. I'll just say, yes, you're right, Vinnie. And I'll see you on a morose Monday.
See you on a morose Monday. If the Lord's willing and the creek don't rise, my friend Michael Knight. And always remember, practice 3 things in life, my friend.
What would they be?
Peace, love, Manischewitz, baby.
What a wine.
With love to Sammy Davis Jr. Take care. Thank you for listening to our extra long show today. We're going to try to post the full version up on our socials as soon as we can. Thanks. Bye-bye.